Graduate School in Paris. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you to the 2021 graduation ceremony. Welcome to all our students, families of students who could be with us today, faculty, administration, staff, and our esteemed commencement speaker, Ambassador Jennifer Brush. We also have amongst us today, representing Arcadia, Dr. Warren Haffar, Director of the International Peace and Conflict Resolution Master's Program at Arcadia University, and Dr. Rebecca Cohn, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at Arcadia. Welcome. Welcome everyone to the graduation ceremony of the American Graduate School in Paris 2021, the COVID edition. My name is Professor Ruchi Anand, and I'm honored to be the anchor for today's celebration. Despite the dark clouds of the global pandemic surrounding us, today is a day of celebration. It's about celebrating you, dear graduating students. You are truly formidable, courageous, resilient, and inspirational for fighting all odds, pandemic or not, to achieve what you set out to do. It's about celebrating your multiple journeys. Graduating students, your personal journeys, your academic journeys, your spiritual journeys, your AGS journeys, your theories and methodologies journeys, and overall, your French journey, allowing you to experience life from a whole new and different perspective. It's about celebrating your ability to defeat all the many obstacles that you faced while you were sailing through some troubled waters and rough seas during your various journeys. It's a celebration of your admirable and applaudable quest of pursuing unique and passionate visions and goals of determination and success. We truly, truly, truly have been in this together. And all of us here at the American Graduate School in Paris are so proud of you and have many reasons to honor you today. Today is a celebration of an ending, but more importantly, a new beginning. We will now begin with the commencement celebration of the American Graduate School in Paris class of 2021. To begin our festivities, I invite Professor Warren Haffar to deliver his welcome address. Dr. Warren Haffar is the Director of the International Peace and Conflict Resolution MA program at Arcadia University in Glenside, Pennsylvania. He established Arcadia's partnership with AGS in 2005 and oversees the partnership between the programs along with Professor Rebecca Cohn. Over to you, Warren. Professor Warren Haffar.
Ruchi, thank you. It is truly a pleasure to be here at this wonderful event. Virtually, I'm in Pennsylvania, and I know many of the graduates today are scattered about the world, but I offer each of you heartfelt congratulations on behalf of Arcadia University. As the accrediting institution for your degrees, Arcadia takes very special pride in AGS. In its mission of global engagement and public service, its dedicated team of faculty and staff, and of course, you, the students, who represent the hope for our shared future. What each of you graduating today has done in successfully completing your course of study is of particular importance and urgency at this moment in our shared history, a history that has been profoundly punctuated by the COVID-19 pandemic and the torn global fabric that it has exposed. As you go out into the world as credentialed graduates in international relations and diplomacy, you are part of a global awakening that reaffirms the importance of diplomacy and collaboration as the best tools for international relations. Yet the supremacy of this approach is not secure, and loud voices threaten our collective progress. Even with the mountain of evidence that we witness daily on the news of the damage and destruction and upheaval that comes when dialogue is replaced by war as the favored means to solve our problems, particularly when our global commons are polluted by self-interest, unbridled nationalism, and apathy toward the suffering of others. You have each worked incredibly hard, as have your faculty and the families and friends that have supported you as we celebrate this evening. I wish you heartfelt congratulations as you enter the world as agents of change and proponents of reason and humanitarianism. The world needs you and the credentials that are now yours. Congratulations on your graduation from all of us at Arcadia University. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ambassador Michael Einek, Associate Professor at AGS, to introduce our commencement speaker. Mike, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Warren. It's a particular pleasure for me to be able to introduce on behalf of the faculty and the students of AGS, our commencement speaker. But first, I do want to congratulate everyone on the graduates and their families for all the work that they've all undertaken to achieve these degrees. It's a strong indication of their competence and capabilities. Speaking of competence and capabilities, Ambassador Jennifer Brush is one of the finest Foreign Service officers of her generation. I can speak to that because we've served in a lot of the same places. And I can tell you that these are not easy places to serve. And the fact that she has committed herself to going to the difficult environments where expertise and quality has been needed, and that she's been successful in these places is a testament to her capabilities in the Foreign Service. And I'd like to just take a second, as Warren, I think, mentioned, that Ambassador Brush is now on the board of the Council for Inclusive Government. I'd just like to quote a few sentences in terms of the announcement of her appointment to that I think better than I could encapsulates her ability. Ambassador Brush is a decorated diplomat with decades of international experience in developing, implementing, and leading initiatives, anticipating evolution and implementing change. She has significantly contributed to the growth, expansion, and elevation of international missions, programs, services, and initiatives. I think that very well encapsulates her importance to the Foreign Service and to American foreign policy in a region that we both love. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Ambassador Brush for the commencement address. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ambassador Einek. Professor Haffar, Director Chalet, faculty, staff, and graduating students, thank you for the honor of addressing your graduating class, and congratulations on completing your studies. You have chosen a challenging career. I see from your fields of study that you are researching fascinating and timely topics, everything from the merits of foreign intervention to combating human trafficking. I'm also delighted to see so many women entering this profession. I entered the Foreign Service not so long after career US female diplomats stopped having to give up their careers if they married Foreign Service officers. That's right, if you were a US diplomat and you married another American diplomat, you had to resign, not so long ago. Throughout my 30 years in international diplomacy, I spent many tours as the first woman to occupy my respective position. During those years, I had few role models and had to create the role of female diplomat as I went. You can only imagine how thrilled I am that I continue to receive requests for advice and referrals from my female colleagues so many years after my retirement. And now you have Vice President Kamala Harris breaking through glass ceilings and stereotypes on a daily basis. I was so proud to see her deplaning in Guatemala City on a mission to tackle one of our most important foreign policy challenges, illegal immigration caused by violence, corruption, and crushing poverty. You will not have to experience the challenge of being the first woman I ever worked for, as I frequently heard, but you still will have the challenge of proving yourself in a man's world. Me Too has reduced the threat of sexual harassment on the job, though it still exists. Now there are additional pressures on women brought about by the year 2000's UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women in security. and echoed by Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, NATO, and US Department of State initiatives. The resolution states, peace and security efforts are more sustainable when women are equal partners in the prevention of violent conflict, the delivery of relief and recovery efforts, and in the forging of lasting peace. Sounds great. But imagine yourself in the role of that woman forging a lasting peace. Is there any real evidence that women in these roles have done any better than men? And isn't it an incredible challenge to prove that you will do a better job based on your gender? Yes, a seat at the table is essential, but if a negotiation fails, was the woman at the table not good enough? I'm a skeptic of these resolutions, but want to be proven wrong. Even over 20 years into these initiatives, the jury is out, and the pressure on women to make or break a negotiation can be its own form of gender bias. So I look to you graduates to prove me wrong, to prove that having you at the table is value added and essential. But back to Vice President Harris for a minute. Have you been following the reaction to her trip? The criticism for discouraging illegal immigration and for not visiting the border, when the task of her visit was to address the root causes in country of immigration. After administration after administration have not been able to solve this problem, she was expected to wrap it up after one trip. Throughout the criticism of this trip, I detected a snide overlay of misogyny, a sense that our first female vice president will fail. This is a taste of the minefield you are entering, but only by continuing to demand a seat at the table can we demonstrate the necessity of having women involved in diplomacy in leadership positions. Of course, this challenge is not just gender-based. As we become more aware of implicit bias in all walks of life, we all need to rethink our assumptions about the world and its power structure. I live in Ohio. Some of you call it flyover country, in the middle of the country. Just this week, in my hometown in Solon, Ohio, students and parents successfully lobbied our school board to keep our diversity, equality, and inclusivity, DEI program. Following a state initiative, there had been a move to ban addressing DEI in our public school curriculum. In the neighboring town of Hudson, a US Army colonel's mic was cut off when he attempted to address the role of freed slaves in creating Memorial Day. Not relevant, said the local organizers. You are the generation who needs to research history as you create new initiatives to make the world a better place. Implicit bias permeates the world of diplomacy, and our next generation will do a much better job of questioning our assumptions than we have done. The world needs your talent to address one of the most urgent initiatives, combating cyber warfare. Cybersecurity will be an increasingly important task in any assignment you undertake. Just this week, the Chief Executive Officer of Colonial Pipeline is justifying to Congress paying $4 million to Russian hackers to restore energy security to the East Coast. We still do not know if the largest meat processing industry in America also paid ransom to restore our food security. How did we become so vulnerable? Lack of vigilance and comprehension of the offensive intentions of Russia against our democracy. In February 2013, Russian General Valery Gerasimov published the article, "The Value of Science is in the Foresight." Sounds innocent. He published it in the weekly Russian trade paper, Military Industrial Courier. Gerasimov took tactics developed by the Soviets, blended them with strategic military thinking about total war, and laid out a new theory of hybrid warfare. He wrote, "The very rules of war have changed. The role of non-military means of achieving political and strategic goals has grown, and in many cases, they have exceeded the power of force of weapons in their effectiveness." Facebook and other social media are still reeling over the discoveries that many of its Facebook accounts can be traced back to Russian troll farms. These farms, owned by Putin's chef, that's right, chef, not chief, chef and fellow oligarch Yevgeny Prigozhin, were responsible for fear-mongering on Facebook. Although Facebook is becoming more proficient about scouting out the fake accounts, Russian trolls continue with their work. During the 2020 elections, troll farms specifically targeted the African American vote with posts discouraging them from voting. More recently, Russian troll farms have been credited with spreading anti-vaccinator conspiracy theories. Russian troll farms are now turning their focus to QAnon and are credited with helping spread some of the most contemptible QAnon conspiracy theories. Russians have been hacking our systems for some time, reaching their greatest success during the 2016 presidential election. The Mueller report fully documented the extent and methods of Russian hacking of our political parties and government institutions. In 2016, the US formally accused Russia of hacking the Russian government. US intelligence knew that Russian hackers had penetrated the Democratic National Party and the Hillary Clinton campaign, and yet during the campaign, candidate Trump famously urged Russians to do more. I am not in any way saying that the Clinton campaign was well run and she would have won without Russian hacking. At least here in Ohio, her campaign was a polarizing disaster, and Democratic parties here and across the country still are trying to regroup in the post-Clinton era. The Russian hacking of the 2016 election was compared to Pearl Harbor and September 11th, but our response has been lukewarm. Intelligence officials regularly reported to Congress on the threat and efforts to thwart it, but the Trump administration largely ignored these reports. Russian hybrid warfare is meeting more of a formidable foe in President Biden, whose administration is considering a number of sanctions to punish Putin for harboring hackers who have so successfully disrupted every sector of American life. Why is Putin doing this? Putin is content to keep his power through his boldness on the international stage, rather than doing much about Russia's abysmal demographics and economy. Anti-Americanism is Putin's best campaign tool. Russia's domestic problems are numerous and serious. Low birth rates and high death rates have significantly reduced Russia's population. The CIA fact book lists Russia as 155th in the world for life expectancy. Average male life expectancy is 65.6 years. If I were a Russian man, I'd have 6 more months to live, on average. Russian children are orphaned, abandoned, or taken from non-viable parents at alarming rates. By some estimates, Americans adopted over 60,000 Russian children. Adoptions ended with the Magnitsky Act in 2012, a series of sanctions passed by the US Congress to protest the death in prison of Russian lawyer Sergei Magnitsky, who was conducting a tax fraud case involving high-ranking Kremlin officials. 3 weeks after the act passed, Putin put a ban on adoptions. Hundreds of cases were in process, with American parents and Russian orphans already having met and begun paperwork. According to the World Economic Forum, Russia contributes just 1.8% of the world's GDP. The United States contributes 24.32% and China 14.84% as the world's 2 largest producers. Over 50% of Russia's GDP comes from extractive industries, oil, gas, and uranium. Putin pledged to cut poverty in half during his 2018 election campaign. According to Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, an average of 19.8 million Russians, or 14% of the population, live in poverty. Human rights are routinely violated. Jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny was mysteriously poisoned in late July 2019 and again in August 2020. Putin's most powerful rival, Boris Nemtsov, was murdered in front of the Kremlin in 2015. Alexander Litvinenko was poisoned by radiation in London in 2006. More recently, Russian former national security operative Sergei Skripal and his daughter were murdered by a military-grade chemical agent in London in 2018. Russia, earlier in 2004, poisoned pro-West Ukrainian presidential candidate Viktor Yushchenko with dioxin, horribly disfiguring him. Given these seemingly unsolvable domestic challenges, Putin will continue to build his popularity on attacking the United States. Though cybersecurity is now a daily headline, Combating it will require a united effort from the grassroots up. Personal responsibility, not opening suspicious emails or liking suspicious social media, are first steps. But more must be demanded from all levels of government and private enterprise. State and local governments should publicly condemn hacking and make public the steps they are taking to enhance cybersecurity. The head of Colonial Pipeline said to Congress, well, we only had one password. We didn't have the double security system. And it wasn't like it was an easy password. It wasn't Colonial 123, thereby just admitting that their cybersecurity was very much lacking. Hacked businesses should be transparent and register incidents with the authorities. They should not pay ransom to have their systems unhacked. The federal government needs to hold Putin's government responsible for harboring hackers, much as governments were held responsible for harboring terrorists after 9/11. This week's meeting between Biden and Putin will start a new, more realistic approach to US-Russian relations. Internationally, hacking should be banned as a weapon of mass destruction, much as biological and chemical weapons have been banned, and nuclear weapons should be banned. Cybersecurity is the new threat of the 21st century. It will be your greatest challenge as you embark on your careers. Clearly, the topics you have addressed in your research plague the globe. I applaud you for addressing these intractable issues. I could speak more on the merits of foreign intervention, the scourge of human trafficking, and the growing dangers of international income inequality and global warming. But I want to leave you with my biggest fear for your generation: cybersecurity and Russia. As you pursue your careers, please do not lose sight of these underlying threats. To leave you on a hopeful note, how lucky you are to be in France, one of the greatest allies of the United States. None of our challenges can be met unilaterally. This week, President Biden will be visiting Europe for the first time since elected. He has stressed his support for international diplomacy and emphasized America's renewed commitment to our allies and partners. We must consult and cooperate with our allies around the world and unite in a common purpose, not a new common purpose, but one that has guided us for generations: Europe and a world whole, free, and at peace. On a more personal note, look around you, even in this disembodied Zoom format. These fellow students with whom you have spent time studying, debating, and I hope enjoying Parisian life, are now your colleagues. This is your new diplomatic family, like-minded, global-minded international civil servants who have chosen this challenging profession. You will be there for each other throughout your careers, for advice, as a sounding board, and for friendship and support. You will make the world a smaller place for committed individuals such as yourselves to make change and improve people's lives. Even taking this assignment to address you just a few days ago put me back in touch with a diplomat I met 30 years ago, Ambassador Einik, and Professor Largentide. You simply never can get away from the pull of diplomacy once you catch the bug, even when you are not practicing it yourself, but preparing the next generation for entering the profession. I was married in Warsaw, Poland. My then ambassador told the assembled guests, Jennifer is not with the traditional family and friends who attend weddings, but she is with family, her foreign service family. This bond of shared interests will be a source of strength and support as you tackle the world's most difficult problems. Following this ceremony, please toast each other and look forward to lasting friendships. Thank you for inviting me today. Think of me as a member of your diplomatic family. And remember, I'm only a Zoom away. Thank you.
Jennifer, let me congratulate you on behalf of the students and faculty and staff for an exemplary commencement address. It was wide-ranging, it was comprehensive, and it was one of the best I've heard. Thank you very much. I'm particularly enthralled by your comments about breaking the barrier for women in the Foreign Service, and I want to thank you for what you've done, partly because I have a daughter in the Foreign Service. And she's the second generation. And this is, again, part of the continuity and the passing from one generation to the next that you've commented on. So again, on behalf of all of us, let me thank you again for such a wonderful address. And then let me turn it back over to Ambassador Anand for the diplomas. Please, let's applaud. I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Einik, and for promoting me to being an ambassador myself. You just refer to me as Ambassador Anand. I like that. I will, now let's move on to awarding the degrees. The big chunk of today's celebration. The way we're gonna do it is I will spotlight our stars of the day, one by one, our 2021 graduating students. So we have 10 of them, 9 master's degrees and 1 Doctor of Philosophy. I'll say a few words about each one of them, these amazing and admirable people, and then we'll allow them to accept the degree, say a few words, since we have nothing to hand over to them. So this would symbolize the virtual giving away of the degrees that these students have earned at the American Graduate School in Paris. So here goes. Upon the recommendation of the faculty of the American Graduate School, and by virtue of the authority vested in them, upon successful completion of all degree requirements, on behalf of the American Graduate School in Paris and Arcadia University, it is my honor and privilege to hereby confer upon graduates their hard-earned degrees with all the rights and privileges, obligations, and immunities thereunto appertaining. We will begin with, I will keep pausing so that the transitions are easy. We will begin with Ravan Abu Julia, Master's degree in International Relations and Diplomacy. Ravan was born in Israel. She holds a bachelor's degree in social work and a master's degree also in social work, both from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. Between 2013 and 2019, she worked as a social worker with the Israeli Ministry of Labor, Social Affairs and Social Services. Ravan decided to make a change in her career path after working for 6 years as a social worker in Israel. She was seeking for an opportunity to study abroad, and as luck would have it, she met Professor Larry Kilman, our very own AGSer, in 2018, just by coincidence in an event for higher education in Washington, D.C., and then she applied and joined us. She knew right from the start that she wanted to work on a topic dealing with mediation. She is currently a trainee in the International Migration Division at the OECD. Ravan's claim to fame. Okay, now I'm going to get personal, a bit of personal stuff because I know each of these students. Ravan's claim to fame is that she's the first AGS student who worked for the entire 2 years of graduate school with her computer that had a Hebrew keyboard. It meant a lot of learning and unlearning and relearning for all of us who work with Ravan, bringing cross-cultural technological discussions to the forefront. Ravan, always ready for the red carpet. Ravan never ever had a bad hair day and always seemed ready to conquer the world with lipstick. Her soul is fierce, her heart is brave, and her mind is strong. Her thesis is titled Bias Mediation and Conflict Resolution, Solution or Problem. Her case study was a US mediation under the Trump administration in the Israeli-Palestinian intractable conflict 2016 to 2020. Congratulations, Ravan. So I see that all of you are sitting out together. So if you want to come closer to the screen and say a few words, and if you would like, accept the degree.
Hello everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to all my professors at AGS for your incredible dedication in teaching and wisdom. Studying at AGS was a great opportunity for me to develop personally and professionally, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
So thank you, Ravan. We will move on to Alejandra Maria Bastidas. It's unfortunate that Alejandra is not with us today. She couldn't make it. Alejandra is from Florida, but has lived all over the world, speaks 3 languages fluently. Her bachelor's degree is in political science and anthropology from the University of Miami. She hopes to continue using her research to help hold multinational. Is that my sound? No, probably not. She hopes to continue using her research to help hold multinational apparel companies responsible for how they treat our environment and the workers of the world. For Alejandra, the ultimate inspiration was the deadline. But for her, meeting the deadline was just not good enough. She always tried to beat the deadline. So Alejandra sailed through graduate school with setting her goals as dreams with deadlines, always dressed chic, savvy, and Parisian. Alex's criticism of the French apparel industry surely raised eyebrows. Her thesis was entitled, Clothing the Loop, Do the Laws and Actions of the French Government for the Apparel Industry Hinder France's Ability to Implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? As I mentioned, Alejandra is not amidst us today on this Zoom call. I don't believe there was a change in mind there. All right, so we will move on to Eric Cofield, master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. Eric Cofield is from Houston, Texas. And what does Eric say? I'm as tough as a West Texas boot. Eric is all about perseverance. He had his share of struggles growing up, and then Paris gave him more adventures and challenges, having to moved several times, having been homeless twice in Paris. At one point didn't have a computer because he couldn't afford one, and then he got one but lost everything that he had written in his thesis. Well, he forgot to back up. Eric wanted to give up several times. He marched along with highs and lows of that Texas boot. His victory statement today is heartening. He says, I know there are people in the world who have way worse situations than I do. So I guess I want my story to say, my future career to reflect that you can do whatever you put your mind to if you persevere. And that the only way to stop is when you're physically unable to go on, because mentally you must. After defending his thesis, Eric wrote to me and he said, I'm proud of myself. And you should be, Eric. His thesis is titled Human Rights Law in France, a Legal Assessment of French Anti-Terrorism Laws between 2015 and 2019. Congratulations, Eric.
I was unmuted. Thank you. Thank you. Who was that? Is that making noises? Who was that making noises over there?
It has to be Renee.
Okay. Thank you, Renee. All right. Oh,
congratulations,
I'm not supposed to. I mean,
congratulations.
Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All the way from Houston, Texas.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You,
hey, Sean, that's my cousin right there. I see you,
I
man.
love you, man.
Appreciate
It's me.
Hey, what's up, Samara?
Hey.
Hey.
Congratulations, Erika.
I don't think we're supposed to be doing. You gotta wait. Hold on, wait.
Bravo, Eric. Bravo.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, really.
All right, great. Thank you, Eric and his supporters and cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Next, we'll move on to giving the degree to Edgardo Galindo, master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. Edgardo Galindo was born and raised in Galveston, Texas. He served in the U.S. military during the Second Gulf War. He has a passion for travel and international relations and hopes to return to the Middle East region to somehow, in a small way, help a little in the areas of conflict. Edgardo, always ready to share his thoughts, ideas, and experience with his peers, brought debate and discussion to the forefront in every space. A keen learner, frank, bold, with a mastered art of cheeky, cheerful, and dynamic confrontation. Always ready to learn, always ready to help. And he wants me to say, go Houston Astros. I don't even know what that is that I'm saying. Edgardo's self-description, I'm not the smartest or cutest, but perhaps the nicest guy. A quote that befits him, the real hero is the man who fights even though he's scared. His title, thesis title is Pre-Existing Conditions or Foreign Intervention, Who is Responsible for Civil War? The Iraq Civil War, 2014 through 2017. Congratulations, Edgardo.
I just want to say thank you to all the professors for helping me and their patience and their struggle with me, because I wasn't always a nice, not a bad student, well, a lazy student perhaps, not the smartest. And I want to thank everybody that helped me and was patient with me and encouraged me along the way. Thank you, everyone.
Great, thank you, Edgardo. We will move on now to Niama Jones, Master's degree in International Relations and Diplomacy. Niama Jones, also known as Nina, is from Florida with a Bachelor's in Public Relations from MUW. She served in the US Army for 15 years and then took a break for 5 years to work overseas as contractors for the military. Nina decided to focus on a less rigid career that mitigates conflict, but one that would involve international issues. In 2019, she made a career change and transferred back to active duty with the Army, changed her job from HR specialist to civil affairs specialist, and enrolled at AGS to study international relations. She is now starting a position with FEMA as a local civil rights specialist. Nina's mantra, or what she calls her recipe for life, especially she says when it feels like bad luck follows everywhere, is I always try to find the good in everything. It's what gives me the courage to accept challenges rather than mistakes, like joining the military or spending 6 years in Afghanistan, and of course, choosing the American Graduate School in Paris. Congratulations, Nina. Her thesis was titled, a bold one, is female genital mutilation comparable to female genitalia cosmetic surgery, a comparative case study of Somalia and the United States of America. Congratulations, Nina.
Thank you, Professor Anand. I just want to thank everyone, but especially the professors and the AGS staff. Tiffany, I have to send thanks to you. Also, all the participants that are here today. It's been a very, last 2 years been very unpredictable, I should say the least. I got to Paris, didn't know what to expect, and then COVID hit. So that pushed my expectations even further down. But throughout those 2 years, I learned to find that, things happen, and it's not all about time, but it's about opportunities. So I'm glad I took the opportunity when I did, and I enjoyed attending AGS. And I know they say never look back when you're moving forward, but in this particular case, I will always look back on my time at AGS in Paris. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Nina. We will now move on to Kaylin Munt, Master's degree in International Relations and Diplomacy. Kaylin was born and raised in Texas near Dallas, Fort Worth. She graduated from Angelo State University with a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security in 2017. In late 2018, she moved to France to start school at the American Graduate School in Paris. She completed her thesis over online child sexual exploitation and hopes to work on protecting children's rights in the future. She also produces a podcast titled A Crime Story. Kaylin Munt is the girl from Texas and will never let you forget it. Like they say, you can take the girl out of Texas, but you can never take Texas out of the girl. Kaylin Munt, she moved to France for love and left with a master's degree and a trip to India, Chennai. She's a 2 times COVID survivor. So I think she was absolutely the warrior graduate student who's now back in Texas and working from there with France in her heart. Kaylin Munt, congratulations. Her thesis was titled Organized Crime but Disorganized International Law, Fighting Online Child Sexual Exploitation and Abuse in the European Union. Kaylin, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Professor Anand. I miss everyone so much. I miss Farah so much. And I think the epitome of being the COVID class is I'm still in my pajamas. So graduating, if that doesn't say 2020, I don't know what does. I'll always cherish my time in Paris, and I especially want to thank Dr. Moldova for taking me on as an advisee. My parents, my mom's sitting next to me, in her pajamas as well. Just thank you, everyone. I miss everyone, and I really wish we could have done this in person, but circumstances. So, yeah, I'm excited.
All right, thank you, Kaylin. All right, so we're going to move along with Catherine Pratt. Katie, is she in the house? I'm not certain. Katie's here, I believe. Catherine Pratt. Katie, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Katie Pratt, master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. Katie is from Orlando, Florida. She's pursuing a field in media and news in the political space. She completed her master's focusing on statelessness and has been accepted and presented at the Migration Conference and the SLSA Conference 2021, Managing and Protecting People on the Move. She's currently producing a podcast with the Refugee Congress on refugee and asylum seekers in the United States. Katie was always passionate about the issue of statelessness right from the very first time she walked into AGS. She made an issue of it that's rarely talked about in the mainstream world of IR and brought it to center stage, to a point that we had to dedicate an entire graduate student conference to statelessness and international relations, inspired by Katie's work. Thank you, Katie, a symbol of strength and fighting against all odds. Katie's 2 years at AGS echo Maya Angelou's quote, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." She fought along, and as Katie says, she made it. She is the heroine of her own life. Her thesis is titled, "Can the UN Statelessness Global Action Plan Succeed? A Case Study of Myanmar." Catherine Pratt. If you want to say a few words.
Sure. Just want to thank everyone. It was a really interesting 2 years, and learned a lot, grew a lot, and so I do really appreciate my time and the people who walked with me along the way. So thank you, and especially Professor Ritchie.
Thank you, Katie. All right, now the next person receiving her degree is now, in fact, still a part of the American Graduate School in Paris, and I think we'll keep her for a long time. Tiffany Sparks, master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. So Tiffany Sparks was born and raised in a small town west of Fort Worth, Texas. So we have a lot of Texans in the crowd. She was a sergeant in the U.S. Army National Guard, has an associate degree in electronics, a bachelor's in research psychology, and a 2 years of postgraduate work in international political economy. After her 3 children started college, she sold everything and that she owned, and she moved with her husband and youngest child to Paris. Tiffany's words of wisdom: don't be afraid to change your life direction. The decisions you make today are not the end, but the beginning. I started off as a construction worker who carried an M16 on drill weekends, moved into computer technology, raised 3 children as a stay-at-home mom, and then started my life over in Paris, studying international relations in my 50s. I do what I enjoy. My job doesn't define who I am. Tiffany is indeed an inspiration to all of us, students and faculty. I'm sure we'll all agree. She is our technology queen and, in a sense, an organizational lifeline. She lives, I think, by the dictum, good order is the foundation of all things. So if she had a theory, that's what it would be. Probably the most organized person I know. And being organized, we know, is being in control. Her interests are in exposing the flaws of neoliberalism, and her thesis was titled Global Governance of Greenhouse Gases. Tiffany Sparks, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anand. I want to thank all my professors, because I know that I was probably one of your most bothersome students, because I would always take these incredibly long papers and ask you to read my drafts 2 or 3 times, and y'all were always willing to, so I really appreciate that. all my grades are due to the fact that you basically wrote my papers by the time you read them so many times. I want to say hi to all my Texas students because I'm going to miss all of you. Everybody wave, all the Texas people. We got dominated this class, so just thank you for everything that you guys have done because you've been very, very responsive. All this planning and changes have gone about, and I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Tiffany. All right, so the last 2 degrees I am conferring to 2 students who will also be our student speakers. Renee Stoute, master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. Renee Stoute is a military brat. Her parents were in the military and she has no hometown. She worked at Disney from 2015 through 2017. After attaining her degree in cross-cultural studies in 2015, she moved to Paris in 2018 and realized that she had a passion for human rights and was able to cultivate her passion for climate change and sustainability at the American Graduate School in Paris. She's hoping to help bring ecological justice to those most in need. She volunteers with women of color, advancing peace and security, as the social media coordinator, and is hoping to find a way to advance climate action. Renee is a very efficient worker, never missed a deadline and always on time. Must be some military upbringing thing. Renee says that EGS forced me to become more disciplined and think outside the box. Renee was often the life of a classroom or a Zoom party, playing devil's advocate and sometimes devil herself to provoke and stimulate discussions and debates and help closet thinkers do their coming out. She tried hard to bring self-proclaimed non-feminists to admit that they really were feminists, since the devil doesn't need any more advocates. Renee says, studying at the American Graduate School in Paris has been the first time in my life that I felt like I'm actually doing something I want to do and something I'm actually really good at. Although Renee's cousin, I don't know if he's in the house, apparently says Renee persevered out of spite simply to dunk on the haters. Her thesis was titled MNCs, SDGs, and the Pursuit of Green. Her research question, so that you can understand those acronyms, is it possible for fossil fuel multinational corporations to be environmentally sustainable and maintain financial success through the Sustainable Development Goals? A case study of Ørsted. Renee, over to you if you'd like to say a few words. Congratulations.
Hey, hi. First off, thanks everyone for coming, and I'm really happy to see everyone in a big Zoom. Just one thing, thank you for listening to me when I'm at my lowest all the time. I told everyone the same problems over and over because I like to torture myself, I guess. So thank you for the last 2 years for helping me out. So, yay!
All right. And last but not the least, our only PhD candidate for this graduation, Patrick Clairzier, Doctor of Philosophy in International Relations and Diplomacy. I can start referring to you as Dr. Patrick Clairzier, is a Haitian national who grew up in Massachusetts, USA. He currently lives and works in France. He has a bachelor's degree in political science and a dual master's in international relations and strategic negotiation. He currently teaches courses in human rights, globalization, environmental issues, and the United Kingdom and US common law. He plans to continue teaching and researching in the area of international political economy and development. His dissertation is titled Beyond the Neoliberal Free Trade Development Paradigm, the Potential of Cooperative Ownership in the Haitian Apparel Industry. A huge big congratulations to you, Patrick, from all of us, staff, faculty, and students for your Doctor of Philosophy in International Relations and Diplomacy, and now you're officially our colleague. So, well done. With that, I believe that we're going to give you some noise time We've kept you quite disciplined. So we've conferred all the degrees and diplomas, so you can make as much noise as you want, pick up your glasses of champagne or whatever it is that you're sharing with.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, everybody. Good job.
Congrats, everyone.
Go, Renee.
Congratulations.
Congrats, everyone.
Congratulations, Renee. Yay. Good job.
Most excellent.
All right, so I know I mean, it's kind of weird to be excited on a Zoom screen. I had my gavel out, I have my alcohol out, and I'm cheering for you all. So a big congratulations there. I will now invite Patrick to deliver his speech on behalf of AGS, students of the American Graduate School in Paris, as our PhD candidate, newly decorated Dr. Patrick Clairzier.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Well, let me at least first start by saying it's an honor to get the opportunity to address all of you today. And more importantly, I wanted to personally thank the AGS community, students, professors, as well as staff who have all left a lasting impression on me over the years. When Tiffany actually contacted me and asked me, well, as the sole PhD graduate, would I like to say something during the ceremony, I was a little bit hesitant because, as you all know, I've been associated with AGS for a long time, and I really wasn't sure where to begin in terms of what to say. But I did promise Tiffany one thing, is that I would keep my speech short and to the point. So with that said, this should only take about 45 minutes, so relax and but I digress. Okay. But in all seriousness, and in full disclosure, I started here as a student, became a graduate, became a professor at AGS. I went back to being a student for the PhD, and now again a graduate. So you can imagine I could easily wax poetic about the good old days of AGS for at least 45 minutes, if not more. But when I was actually thinking about what to say today, something actually a close friend said to me a few days ago actually came to mind. And we were discussing how much our lives have changed over the years, and how certain things that at times we feel at least we left behind or outgrew, but somehow or another kind of made their way back into our lives, but more profoundly. And it is at that moment when she said, coming full circle is a long road. And I was just like, oh. At that moment, I realized exactly what she meant. Right? It's that there are moments in the things that we leave behind or we think we outgrew. The long road we traveled, in a sense, have given us fresh perspective from which to view and reevaluate our past in order to shape our future. And when I left the US years ago and come to AGS to study, I was seeking that fresh perspective to better understand the world, and especially a world that was changing and it would seem at an ever increasing rate. Today we have access to a vast amount of information, but it seems we lack more and more. We lack the ability to analyze it, understand it, and the wisdom to apply it. And it is in that respect that I hope that AGS continues to provide that fresh perspective and understanding to current students and future students seeking to shape our collective future, hopefully for the better. And I will stop here and thank everyone, and also would love to wish all my fellow graduates and thank all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for that powerful, short 2-minute. You didn't go beyond that. That's excellent. Thank you very much for that. The art of teaching, right? And you can summarize everything in 2 minutes and you know it all. Thank you so much. And again, big congratulations to you, Dr. Clairzier.
Thank you.
I will now invite Renee Stoute to speak on behalf of all of her student colleagues at the American Graduate School. Renee, over to you.
Well, first, hi everyone. Imagine my surprise when I jokingly emailed Tiffany, I'd like to say something, but I don't know what to say. And then she emails me back and says, great, you're saying something. So she didn't give me a time limit, and I can't guarantee that it will be great, Edgardo, but I'll try. I will start by saying that I could go the really cliche route and say that we made it, or we did it, or, you know, who would have thought we made it to this point? But honestly, given the events, at least in the last 2 years, all I can say is that we survived. And that's amazing, and that's enough. So my cousin said, don't say that, that's super depressing. But honestly, like, the thing that kept me going every single day was the fact that I had survived the day before. So yay, pat yourself on the back, everyone in this Zoom, and especially the graduates, because we have survived not only an unprecedented global pandemic, but also metro strikes, French protests, and French bureaucracy. We've survived a lot of different things, and I would say that we're relatively intact. And so we're surviving now, and we are definitely thriving. And if we're not thriving now, we're on our way to thriving in the future. So I do want to say a special thank you to all of our lovely professors, our administrators, and our superhero Tiffany, because you really helped us here in our time just to make things seem a little bit easier. So thank you guys to all of you guys. Thank you for answering our emails and staying a little bit longer on our Zoom calls, and especially changing the subject when I start yelling at Edgardo. So that's really important. You've helped us survive these last 2 years. What you guys have taught us has helped us to grow and learn, and it's really shaped us to be the people that we are today. And it's just been so nice to have everyone in the Zoom call just to lean on, especially when times got tough. Even Edgardo. So I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you and how much I will cherish all the time that we've spent together. And as we go our separate ways, I know that all of us are going to be leading different future movements. We're going to reshape our workplaces, and we'll even face a myriad of challenges in a bright but profoundly uncertain future, because now we don't know what's going to happen anywhere. There's a lot that we could be worried about in our world and in our own lives that we can directly or indirectly change, but we're going to change it because we have survived much worse. And even earlier this week, I would say that I saw this really amazing quote from Rosa Parks I'd never heard before. That was, the only tired I was giving was tired of giving in. And I'm so proud of everyone here for just not giving in, even when things are really hard. When it felt like the day was March 52nd instead of March 17th, we made it. It felt like a monotonous mystery, but we're here. So we're here to celebrate, and I want everyone to make sure that you celebrate yourselves in big ways and in small ways. Take your really big, grandiose goals and break them down into small pieces and find small ways to celebrate yourself every single day, because you guys are amazing and you brought the best out of me, even when I was yelling or rolling my eyes or doing anything in the Zoom calls. We've all made it through these last 2 years, and it's just great. So think about who you are at the start of this program, because I don't recognize the person that I was 2 years ago. Think about the solid foundation that you built, and it was built on your own strength and your own abilities. And now it's going to open so many doors for you. And if there's no doors that are open them yourself, forge a new path. So thank you guys for coming again.
I see someone has a hand raised. Is that by mistake? Probably. All right, thank you, Renee, for that excellent speech. That's so you and so pandemic students, all of you. So thank you very much, Patrick and Renee, for short, sweet, excellent speeches. All right, so I'm gonna have just a few more last words. I promise I'll let you go. So there's just me now between you and sort of your exit Zoom from this meeting. What I just wanna congratulate once again the graduating class of 2021 and best wishes for your new adventures. You have now entered AGS alumni, our own family. Is someone trying to speak up? So yeah, we'll be in touch. You're part of the AGS family, even though we haven't had much physical time in our lovely new campus. We will definitely catch up. I want to end with a quote from Jon Stewart, who says, well, the unfortunate yet truly exciting thing about your life is that there now are no required courses. There's no required curriculum. The entire place is an elective. So make sure that you pick and choose your electives carefully, have fun, find work that you love so you never have to work a day in your life like I do, being your professor. Quite honestly, you're all the toughest, strongest, most courageous graduates in history, definitely in the history of the American Graduate School in Paris. So hats off to each one of you for having completed what you came for despite such trying circumstances. You will always be remembered as our fantastic COVID graduates. Carpe diem and saper ode. And at this point, I will stop speaking and I will invite Professor Methodology, our very own Professor Douglas Yates, to say a few words. For those of you who don't know Professor Yates, he is Professor Methodology, but he's also an expert on African politics and the politics of the oil industry in Africa, is world renowned for his rentier state theory. He's authored several books, and literally I see more of him on television these days than I do in person. Douglas Yates, over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Rushi. So I'm not, of course, giving a speech. This is rather a closing statement because, as they say in Glencarry Glen Ross, coffee is for closers. First, I'd like to thank Ambassador Einik for helping us once again with his amazing Rolodex and for always coming to pitch in at the last minute, offering the art of diplomacy in the human sense. I'd like to thank Ambassador Brush for her inspiring speech. And I know that more and more of our classes are women, but I believe that Eric, who took Rushi's class on feminist theory, would be on board with promoting the women's agenda in international relations. Thank you, Ambassador Brush, for coming and speaking to our school and to this graduating class. Rushi, I really want to thank you for doing the MC work. You did a stellar job giving the poetry of personality to each of our graduates, because we really do know everyone there. And I really thought you hit it on the head. I'd like to thank Warren Haffar for attending yet another AGS event. You are really our connection to Pennsylvania and for helping us to get our PhDs through the accreditation process. We will be, I believe, the only school in France offering an accredited PhD, American PhD, thanks to your perseverance. Finally, to the Texas Graduate School in Paris, Eric, Edgardo, Nina, Kaylin, and Tiffany. I don't know how we're going to vote next year, but after all of this, but I think we'll start being a blue state again. Rowan, Renee, Katie, and of course, Patrick, who I've known now for years, both as a student and as a colleague. Thank you so much. I will miss you. You were an extremely important graduating class, and the experience that we've gone through online, maybe it's appropriate that we did our graduation together online. I'm not going to offer motivational quote or good advice, but rather I want to put this like to the end of a hypnosis session where the person snaps his fingers and you come out Mostly, I think they had me closed so that you can be certain you'll never have to watch me again on Zoom. This is it. And congratulations, everyone, on all of your research and on the progress that you made. And good luck with the next step in life.